Hours of Saturday morning, China said it flew a drone over Taiwan-controlled Pratas Island Group, which commands a vital strategic position bridging the Taiwan Strait and the Bashi Channel. Taiwan called the incident highly provocative and irresponsible behavior, which has seriously undermined regional peace and stability, violated international law. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense said the Chinese drone entered Taiwan's airspace for 4 minutes at an altitude outside the range of Taiwan's air defense weapons. After Taiwan broadcast warnings via international channels, it departed at 5:48 a.m. Pratas, known as Dongsha Island in Taiwan and China, is considered the largest island in the South China Sea by land area at around 240 hectares. Also, over the weekend, China said it had monitored the transits of U.S.-guided missile destroyer USS Finn and oceanographic survey ship USNS Mary Sears through the Taiwan Strait. Let me come to you again, Tristan. What do you believe China was doing over Pratas?
Of course, it is definitely a political signal to Taiwan. In the meantime, they also launched a joint combat readiness patrol around Taiwan before and after, or around the time that the U.S. naval fleet transit through Taiwan. So it's definitely a political signal, but it's also another thing to, I think, to let the Taiwanese government to feel a little bit helplessness, because this UAV incident is, of course, has a lot of planning in advance.
That political signal being that at any time we can, fly into your airspace, we can undermine your sovereignty, and you can't do anything about it because we can fly above your air defenses?
And because Pratas Island is too far away from Taiwan, we have no Air Force elements or fighter jets to intercept the UAVs or other aircraft in the future. So it is really a major problem to Taiwan defense.
Right. So, Jiman, this does make Pratas Island very vulnerable then?
Yes. I mean, according to reports, there's only 500 Coast Guard personnel there, and there's no civilians there. It's actually an ideal target for the PLA to take because it doesn't have civilians. Secondly, I think the message that was transmitted was you transit the Taiwan Straits, we'll overfly Taiwan. If you don't want us to fly over Taiwan, don't put your ships through the Taiwan Straits. But it was also a trap, because what happened was, besides the UAV flying over Pratas, there were other fighter jets nearby and PLA Navy ships nearby. So if Taiwan had sent fighters after that UAV, it might have fallen into a trap. It could have been something like what happened in the incident in 2013, when Japan and China almost went to war when a Chinese UAV flew over the Senkaku.
Right, because last year Wellington Koo had reiterated that any uninvited, vessel into Taiwan's airspace waters, it would be treated as a first strike.
That's their protocol. But the problem is, as Tristan mentioned, there was no air defense systems that could reach the UAV. Taiwan does have the TK-3, which is a ground-based missile defense and air defense system. So that could have reached it, but they didn't deploy it. And they're building 12 systems, and 6 of them are supposed to be deployed around Taiwan. This might force them to deploy one of them to Pratas.
So if we could just, before I get to the speaker, we extrapolate. So what happens if China was to effectively take control of Pratas? What should Taiwan do?
It's very difficult to do anything about it from Taiwan's perspective. It's a very small island. It has one airstrip. It has a small port. And there's not much personnel there. So once they take it, it would be very difficult to retake it, and it would act as an aircraft carrier basically for the PLA, because they could launch aircraft from the island and cover the southern western part or the southern part of Taiwan. So it's very difficult for Taiwan to take it back.
Okay, so Speaker, I'm just wondering, in this discussion, is it instructive or not to apply? Obviously, you're from Czech Republic. We know that that there were huge lessons from Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland in 1938. Again, that was strategic because of the industrial base. That lesson should have been applied with Crimea, as we now know, in 2014. What do you believe Taiwan's approach should be?
Any intimidation by force, including drone flights, must be taken seriously. And I think the response must be always serious. And as you mentioned, we have many examples from our own past or from European past, where we can see that any action means an invitation for other purposes of aggressor. So it means that I'm quite sure that this is a lesson learned from our own history. I just want to briefly mention that this was that statesmen expected that they will, avoid war in Europe and elsewhere, but what they get was war. So this is really important to have on mind. And the same scenario became with Crimea, which was by Russia illegally taken in 2014, and this is the start of the war actually, because this was made by force, not only on the paper. And since then they were preparing themselves to the war, and because of an inadequate reaction and response of democratic states, they took it, okay, we can do it again, and full-scale invasion came later on. And now we can see, even after almost 4 years, that they really are focusing to destabilize not only Ukraine, but entire Europe. So for us, this must be some red flag that this is not something which is only an inspection. This should be taken really seriously.